When you think about leadership in quality, what comes to mind first? Systems, standards, spreadsheets. But what if it was something a little more human? This week, we're going to be reflecting on what leadership in quality looks like right now and how a global conference full of passionate professionals offered more than just ideas. It offered a glimpse into the future of our profession. Welcome to Lead the Standard. Hello everyone, I'm Kelly Taylor. I am here as always, tongue twisters already, with the thoughtful and insightful Jackie Stapleton, who is very excited about today's conversation. We are very glad to have you all joining us. We're going to explore something a little bit different today. Not different, but something that, as I said, Jackie's super excited about. We're looking at what it really means to lead the standard in today's world. Good morning, Jackie.
Hello. It's quite funny. What did you say? I was thoughtful and insightful.
I've got to sell this. I've got to sell it. As all of our listeners are aware, and I cannot think, I'm just seeing your jacket in full there, very appropriately attired today, much better than our birthday episode last week.
My favourite
takeaway.
we are World
Oh my
Conference
gosh.
on Quality
Look
and
at that.
Improvement t-shirt. I got dressed
like we need
specially.
I feel like we need some sort of censorship rating today already, and we haven't even started.
I'll put my bra on.
It went from PG to MA. Anyway, as everyone's aware, let's jump in, because obviously you're excited about this one. As everyone is aware, Jackie flew over to Denver, Colorado recently for the ASQ World Conference on Quality and Improvement, or the WCQI. Let me tell you, she did come back energized, so much so that she needs to take another break next week to recover. So we all need another break, because she has been so enthusiastic about this. We talked a few episodes ago about you need to send the right person, and I think clearly we did. This event very much hit a chord, because it wasn't just the I got out of work for a few days kind of energized. It was the kind of energized where I'm pretty sure multiple notebooks were filled. Her voice was half gone. She's still talking about the people and the conversations weeks later, even though she had a holiday afterwards yet. If you haven't seen it yet, Jackie did capture some of her reflections in the latest Lead the Standard article, which, as always, you'll find in the show notes. But today we're going to I will do my best to try and channel her energy into our podcast. And Jackie's going to share with us what stood out, what surprised her, and why WCQI might just reflect the new shape of quality leadership. I'm not going to lie, she's got me excited about this as well. She's turning me a little bit in this way as well. So, Jackie, I know this wasn't your first conference. I've been to a couple with you, and we've had some mixed experiences. This one really seemed to spark something different with you. So, do you want to tell us what it was like stepping into that room in Denver?
Yeah, it was exciting, that's for sure. It's massive, much bigger conference than I've ever been to in this industry, obviously. But yeah, there was a few surprises actually, and that's sort of what I tried to capture. We had fun. I met so many people. We had so much fun. Does it surprise you that quality people are actually human, and we have a sense of humor? We're not just tick and flick boring people with cardigans and leather patches.
She says wearing a jacket with leather jacket with patches.
No,
No,
it doesn't have. It's my USA jacket. I got dressed for the occasion, but as an example, because you said, I'm sure Jackie filled lots of notebooks, because you know that normally I do fill lots of notebooks, and you're exactly the same. but I didn't
Mm.
have to, because, and
Mm.
this is a good example of, I suppose, their forward thinking and their grasp
Yeah.
of, you know, technology, AI, etc. They had a tool, or it's not an app, but it's a tool called Snapsight. So
Ooh.
every keynote or speaker that we went to over the 4 days, you could use this Snapsight, and it had the closed captions, because some people with their accent, and as you know, I'm a bit hard of hearing as well, so if clarity is an issue, but I used that program Snapsight, and it came up with the captions so I could follow along. I didn't miss anything. But even if I did, they had things like, I'm just going to have a quick look. You could get the like quick summaries. So it had takeaways. It had an idea cloud as well. So you, from each
Mm.
talk, the idea cloud, and it summarized the whole speech. So, and you could download the transcript, and yeah, and in that, the speaker had any documents that they were sharing. So, you know, I could just sit there and enjoy it, because I knew that Snapsight was taking care of the note taking far better than I could ever do. So, you know, just
Mm.
forward thinking as a whole, to be honest, and very community focused.
Yeah, I love that because, yeah, how often do you go to a conference? You said we both fill notebooks and you're writing something. You go, oh, I missed that. Well, did you get that?
Yes.
And it's
What did
there's a
he
lot of
say?
bounce
Yeah.
and there's information overwhelm. Yeah, and this is one of the things that I've been excited to hear about as well. So there was a lot of things that you wouldn't expect, as you said, from quality people or
Yeah.
standards people, system people. A lot of stereotypes were broken from what I've seen, which is exciting and fun. There were a couple of them that seem to have been reinforced. I'll use day one as an example. But other than that, everything else that you've shared with us really did seem to break those stereotype barriers. So let's have a chat now about, yeah, exactly that glimpse into the future that you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of how I worded it. You know, it was more than a conference. And look, you know, I was going to say, I don't think I met another Aussie. My husband came with me, and he attended the conference as well, and really, really enjoyed it. He went off, excuse me, to different speakers. And sometimes we might have been in the same room, sometimes not. Um, so maybe it was, you know, we were the, you know, we were the only Aussies, but there was people from all over the world as well. I met people from Dubai, Sweden, Switzerland, New Zealand was probably the closest to us. So it was really, as you said, I think, yeah, it was a glimpse into the future, but probably what took me away, or made me most excited, is how ASQ embraced it. Because, you know, normally, traditionally,
Mm.
you'd think, you know, you're in the ISO world, we're a bit behind, sort of like government in Australia. It just takes us longer. But no, they were really embracing it. So what another takeaway was that it wasn't just about, oh, ISO 9001. I don't think I ever talked about that, to be honest. It was about people and um, progress in the industry and what we were there for. So I even ran a brain date, Kelly, they called it, where
Oh,
I used my ECD, so emotional culture decks, to
oh yeah.
establish sort of, yeah. So I had 9 people. The maximum was 8. So I was fully booked, and they let an extra person in. So I facilitated that brain date with, yeah, with people from all over the world. I shared those photos on LinkedIn for that day. I think I did that on day 2. Sorry, just getting a bit hot because I'm talking. Yeah, so I had to turn the heat off. Um, and that was interesting, and it was a really good mix of people, male and female. Younger professionals and older professionals.
Mm.
So I was really glad of the mix that I had attend. Um, and I used the emotional culture deck to establish, what as leaders in quality, what or how they wanted their quality team, the employees, their work colleagues to feel. Yeah, I use the feel word to feel about the quality management system. And then that sort of
Yeah.
set, well, this is how I want them to feel. How do we get there? And I think it only ran for 45 minutes. So it was a chopped down
Ooh.
version. Yeah. And, that I was just amazed at how everyone embraced it. I thought it was a really good audience to test this feeling stuff about quality culture.
Mm.
And to me, that was a great indication of the community. That the three things that I highlighted and categorized for this were community, culture, and curiosity. So they're
Mm.
the three that
I
I've
think
sort of put everything under.
I think it's important to probably highlight here too. Jackie's talking about feeling. It wasn't just auditors. I know we've talked a lot before about when you're auditing, you can't feel, you need to base on fact. But this wasn't just auditors. This was everybody collaborating and building that quality community, as you said, and that
That's
quality
right.
culture. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, so there was me, and then there was lots of engineers, people, lots of highly educated people in the industry. So it was, yeah, a very broad scope of people. So yeah, just yeah, really, really great people. You saw photos. There was um, I think must have been on day 3. There was a dinner. Um, wow, they're party animals. Oh, but the highlight. The
Uh-oh.
s'mores table.
Oh, that's a
Oh my
novelty for us though.
Oh my goodness. I actually had to ask someone, can you please show me how to do this so we could heat the marshmallow up on the fire. So the lady in front of me gave me a lesson as we went. But yeah, it was such great fun meeting some amazing people. So that was, well, again, it's that community and culture as well as that curiosity.
Mm.
I think that's why I probably landed on those 3 things to categorize everything, and maybe as we
Yeah.
talk through them they might all merge as we normally do, but
Mm.
yeah. Do you want me to
Yeah.
go through
Well, let's,
why community?
yeah, let's start with community being the first one too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think even we did the same thing in preparation. It was like, okay, well, if we spend this much money to go to the conference and we make this many sales, then it's worth it. But that's not what this is about. It's about
No,
this
and that's why we did a whole
connection.
other episode on it. Mm.
Yeah, it's really not what this is about. You know, I I was able to meet people, well, from Exemplar Global. So there were some Australians there, but they were Exemplar Global, so I already knew them. Of course, there were some US based from Exemplar Global. I had went out for dinner with all the Exemplar Global crew, and we had the two people from ASQ join us, including the CEO, um, join us for drinks afterwards. And it was just about meeting people and connecting. And I just this week I had a message from Ruth, one of the speakers, and we sort of hung around a little bit. She actually came from Canada. We hung around a little bit afterwards, and during, and she just checked in the other day. So it's these connections that I've made that we have this common goal. So
Mm.
ASQ created that, and something that they spoke about, I think it was on day one, or day two, their goal is community, and they're actually pulling, because at the moment it's a little bit separate. We know we've got ASQ, we've got Exemplar Global, we've got like, you know, PCB in Europe. There's all these different quality organisations. There's AOQ here in
Yeah.
Australia. What they're trying to do, and they're doing it because there's a few already on board, particularly in Europe. They're making it a global community. So so
Yeah.
we're not separated like we have been. So, I've been in touch. I actually spoke to ASQ while I was there about the Australian chapter. So I've been in touch with a gentleman in Melbourne who's been given the job of setting that up. So I'm having a Zoom with him to see how I can help with the Australian chapter. So, they were so overly helpful with that. That
Yeah.
is their ultimate goal, is this community. So that's what I mean. It's not a sales event. It's it's
Mm.
it's to meet people in the same industry as you, with common purpose, goals, desires, and we had a great time while doing it. So, they're potentially, some of them are lifelong connections.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
I know you said it's not about the ISO standards, but it is an international standard. And if you're all what's the point in having an international standard if we're not working as an international community to be passionate about this and bring it forward? So it is really good that they're breaking down those borders and really focusing on, collaboration, and I
Yes,
think so you've got genuine connections and
absolutely.
human communities.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there should be a photo or two in the newsletter as well, that you'll see. I did provide to our marketing team to include it. Just, and you'll see the happy smiling faces, and sense of humor, Kelly. Oh, I've got it. Oh,
Mm.
I did send this.
Stereotypes or
Well, the first day of the conference was, May the 4th be
May the
with
4th.
you. 4th of July. Well, what was it? 4th of
May.
May.
4th of May, Jackie,
I don't
4th of
even know
May.
what month it is. 4th of May. So they had the Star Wars characters there. So I got a photo with them. I got stickers, Kelly, that say
Oh
I'm a
gosh.
lean, mean quality machine. I'm a quality nerd. Quality is my superpower. I'm certified awesome. Like, we have a sense of humor. It's not just me stuck over here on my own with a sense of humor. Everyone has it. They even made stickers to prove it.
Yeah. And just seeing people driving around with those bumper stickers on their cars.
Yeah, I haven't figured out where to put mine yet, but
They need to be somewhere where they can be seen. It's like
yeah.
a nice
Where-
bright disclaimer. I was very disappointed for you that they weren't tattoos, because that would have been fun to record this
Maybe
episode with
they could have had
cutting across
temporary
your wall.
tattoos.
Yeah. Or real ones. Anyway,
So yeah,
can you imagine?
that's sort of my, yeah, I don't know about that. That's sort of my takeaway with community.
Yeah, and I think that leads nicely into the
Mm,
next one as well,
yes.
because community breeds culture, which is the second section that you had in your model this week, which was
Yeah,
less of
and
a model and more of a
yeah,
yeah.
uh, I may have crossed over to this already, but you're right in what you say, that community breeds culture, and that's why, yeah, we had so much fun. I 4 days is it's a long
Mm.
conference, and um, two of them were absolute full days. It started at 7:30 in the morning.
Oh, lucky you're a morning person.
Well, I wasn't there because I was having trouble sleeping. because
Now, were you having trouble sleeping because of jet lag and time zones, or were you having trouble sleeping because you had ideas? Because I know that when I get messages at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's why. Was it
no,
that
it was
excitement and
altitude.
enthusiasm, or was it?
It was actually
Mm.
altitude. Because Denver, yeah, mile high city, yeah. So yeah, they were saying that altitude impacts your sleep, and it takes a while to get used to. Little did I know I'd end up going higher than Denver, but I suppose it was, yeah, getting used to it. And the air's
Mm.
very dry, so breathing was yeah, an issue. So I
Mm.
think I did one day on 4 hours sleep. I got, yeah, yeah. Luckily, I was somewhere that I enjoyed, and
Well, that's what I was going to say. If you were feeling like that and you weren't enjoying the people and you weren't getting
mhm,
anything out of it, and it wasn't a topic, I'm pretty confident, well, not you, but at least Lee would have said, not getting out of bed, staying here. So that again shows that the community and the culture that this was creating, people were willing to push through.
yeah,
We've had a few conversations about pushing through health and inappropriate. This is a different context. This is allowed
yeah,
because it was for fun. This wasn't work. Well, it was work, but it wasn't work, if
yeah.
that
And
makes sense.
I suppose really how that translates into, when we're back home at our desks, um, it is, something that it's not, our system shouldn't be like cold and lifeless and ticking boxes. Like, you know, we should be having fun with it. But it actually reminded me, I mentioned Ruth that I met over there when she messaged me this week. I said, "Oh, what exciting things are you up to?" And she goes, "Well, I'm doing an internal audit at the moment, and I just love doing internal audits because I get to go and talk to lots of people, and I learn all these new things about the business that I work in. So
Mm.
that that fun is coming from within, and that person, if you know what I mean. And it actually reminds
Yeah.
me, Kelly, of our virtual training last week. And I think
Oh,
this is important for you and I as trainers as well, when we may not be so fortunate and we might have a group of people that aren't as fun as the ones we had last week. But you could see, yeah, you could see in the training last week, we particularly had one person, we had, maybe a few people
he knows
that
who he is.
that had a great sense of humor, and
Oh,
their energy lifted everyone. And I've
mm,
been sort of thinking about that since last week, because for you and I as trainers, if we relied on this person in particular because his energy lifted everyone up, because then you and I were having fun as well. But if there's no one
mm,
in the room or in our
mm,
virtual training, it's up to you and I to lift and have fun and start laughing, because if they're not, you and I tend to get a bit stressed as well as the facilitators. But in actual
mm.
fact, it's up to us to lift the energy, to lift their energy, and then we can have fun with it. So
Yeah.
that's something that I've been reflecting on, because we've had so many different groups, but it was so much fun. But it was the energy in the room. And then that was with Ruth, with her internal audit, when she messaged me. Can you imagine, someone coming around, doing their internal audit, and they love what they do? It's not drudgery anymore. And so
Mm,
that's culture, and that's what people say about me and how I get excited and use my hands a lot. It's if it's something that you're passionate about. I was talking to a lady in Belgium this week, who works in quality. She's a quality manager, and she said she was showing her work colleagues a video of me, and they were all laughing because they said that was as excited as about what I do as she is, and it would be really funny for the two of us to get together. So
That's the thing though, isn't it? You do, you feed off that. But I'm smiling now because I'm having a flashback to that. So many times we do that training and we get to the end of the day and think, oh, I'm going to go have a wine and go straight to
yeah,
bed because I'm exhausted, because it is exhausting. But one person led and then someone jumped on the back of that, and we
exactly.
had it was like doggy daycare at one point, and we were
Yeah.
all loving it, and everyone was, yeah. And look at the smile that that's bringing to me, because they were all invested in the training. They were all having fun. They were all interested and engaged in what they were there to. And actually, that's a really good point. Everybody that was in that session, and I don't think we've had this before, everyone that was in that session by choice. None of them were forced to go by their boss. It was all optional. Like, here's an opportunity for growth. They all wanted to be there. And I think if there was anyone who didn't want to be there, by probably lunchtime day one, the others would have convinced them that this is the
Correct.
place to be, this
That
is the
that's
career
right.
to be in.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're
So,
spot on. Yeah.
yeah.
So so
But yeah,
yeah.
smile because of that engagement.
Well, Kelly, all I'm getting out of this is that you need to pull out your dad jokes more often.
I will send that soundbite to Bailey, my son, and let him know that
And
there
your
is a
dad.
purpose to. And my dad is very proud of me. He sent me another one the other day, which I laughed a little bit too hard, and I get all of my dad jokes from Dad, who does listen to our podcast. Hi, Dad. Send some more. Jackie gives permission. So
But yeah, I think with this culture, it is that energy, isn't it? And we you and I need to be responsible for that when
yeah,
we can't rely on our students. But I
we might
think,
just hire him as a temporary.
yeah, well,
Pretty
but
much.
that's what made me reflect on it and think, oh, Kelly and
Yeah,
I shouldn't be so stressed. We should just have fun with it. Because
yeah,
then we're going to be lifting these people up. So, it's
yeah.
really our job to raise that energy and, say things like, "Oh, you're doing awesome at this. I'm sure you all get this." It's the language that you use as well.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm getting sucked into the cold right now. So yeah, absolutely. And we had the opportunity, well, not the opportunity. There was the risk with that group. We had a few technical issues at the beginning
It,
that could have gone downhill very
yes,
quickly, but
yes,
it didn't. It only
yes,
took those introductions, and there was a bit of a pep and
yes.
a spring in the step.
Yes,
So yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
And I had a Zoom with one of the students yesterday actually. And yeah, he said how great the training was and even pre-training, the whole process. So, it's that experience all the way through, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
and which is interesting because that's something that we are constantly evolving and trying to improve on,
Yes.
and different people's different perspectives.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's good. Which kind of also leads nicely into that third category that you had there, which was curiosity. And this group were genuinely curious. You found a few things, you've already kind of touched on these, but at the conference, there was a few things that got you curious in places you've kind of already dabbled a little bit, but your curiosity expanded, um, with a couple of those. We'll talk AI and systems and
Yeah.
quality in general.
Yeah. And I suppose well, maybe this was the most surprising for me, but community was definitely as well, which, as we've discussed, led to the culture side of it. But I mentioned Snapsite before, and this tool that they gave us to use at all of the keynotes and speakers, and that's essentially AI, and they're embracing it. Here's a tool, and you and I have also experienced this with a conference. I think it was last year. So we had an app where we could see all of the different schedules on each day, and then you'd put it into your calendar, you'd select it, you could then see, well, what's my schedule, then you could change it around. Like they just didn't hand you a piece of paper. It was
Mm.
these tools that you could use. You could read about who was going to be speaking to get some background. And as I said, the everything was recorded, and I've since received all of that as well, which is probably fairly normal. But you know, the tools they gave us were amazing. They had also an app called Well, which was, and you've experienced this. I sort of get a bit overwhelmed with these, Kelly. You know, where they have like a competition, like how many steps you can do. And yeah, there was
Mm.
a young girl that I met there. She's in one of the photos. Snigda, something like that. Beautiful girl. I met her, I think, on day 2, and we just kept running into each other. Just one of those really bright young personalities in quality. She won. She killed it. Her points were way, and she was strategic as well.
Ah.
Yeah, yeah. So I won't let you in on her strategy, but people really got into it. But it's really, I think, the tools that were sort of the takeaway for me, that ASQ really embraced these tools within the conference, so they didn't run away from it scared, put it that way.
Mm.
So they actually gave it a go and brought in this tech into the conference, in the tools that we were using. So it demonstrates this curiosity that we have to have as quality professionals, that things are changing. And you and I have had this discussion recently, like it it can be
Yesterday.
scary, but it can be exciting. And but with large language models, AI, etc., yeah,
Yeah.
the scary part is how quickly it's changing. But we've got to embrace it. I think, is it next week, I'm attending a webinar. This is how important it is, Kelly. It's at 6 o'clock, and my brain does not function
In the
in the
afternoon.
afternoon. That's right, and I'm
So
going. It's
people might be shocked at my tone then. Jackie doesn't function after 2 p.m.
no
typically. She 3 a.m., she's on it.
on fire.
2 p.m., sorry, that meeting's got to be done by lunchtime
That's
because
right. My brain
things
does not
are
work.
on.
No.
So if you're staying up for anything past
Yeah,
books at 6 p.m.,
that's right.
it's
And
probably going to be special.
yes, and this is AI in quality. And, we need to know what other people are saying about this.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
and we need, like, for us in the education field, we need to know what this looks like for our clients. And then for
Mm.
me as an auditor, yourself as an internal auditor, um, we need to know what the tools are. And we actually had this discussion, Kelly, last week in our virtual training. Someone asked about, can you record?
Yeah.
And that's the old-fashioned record audio. And then also you and I had a discussion, because you were trialing AI summary within our virtual training,
With the
because
training.
what
Yeah.
what a great
Which
tool to,
sounds well.
yeah,
Yeah.
what a great tool to give our students. And you mentioned, and I thought about this afterwards, you mentioned, oh, but as auditors they need to learn to take notes. Yes, currently we do.
Yeah.
I would say that will change. I would say, I could use a tool like Snapsight or Fireflies, and it
Mm.
moving forward, it will actually take note of the conversations, and it will actually even put it into an audit report for me.
Yeah. two things that I'm going to highlight that you just mentioned there. It's a tool, because it is a
Correct.
tool, and currently and in future. Currently I do this, but in future this might.
Yeah.
I did a Jackie and was reading something at stupid o'clock this morning because the other half had an early shift and woke me up. I don't function in the morning, but they have proven, or not proven, they've done tests, and most of our jobs are still safe because AI is still not accurate currently.
Correct.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's you said at the moment it's still a tool, but we all need to be aware of what that's going to look like in future. And again, as you said there, last week we trialed a couple of different tools to assist our students with the training, and it is 2 8 and a little bit hour days back to back with things jumping in and out, and the tools that we use didn't like the way that we delivered our training. It would drop off or cut out and stop recording and those sorts of things because we do things differently, and the system didn't like that. But there's going to be something out there that does,
Absolutely.
and we just need to find that and keep working to find that right tool to help our students. You talked here about how they embraced these tools in the like in the conference space, and we know how we tackle those in the education space. What sorts of things could quality managers and quality auditors take away from that AI space? Or did ASQ share these are some new things? Like, were they open with these are the opportunities to you, or did they just use that for themselves?
No, they used it for themselves mainly. Look, there were some speakers that talked about AI, but there's not really any how to, I guess, just because of, that it wasn't a workshop essentially.
Yeah,
That which is the difference.
difference.
I'd be interested to see, because I'm going to Qualcomm in September, so that's the Australian Organisation for Quality. It's their conference. So, and they actually have a day of workshops. So I'd be interested to see, yeah, whether there's something a little bit, around that LLM sort of AI around that, but they haven't released that yet. So look, not look, yes,
It's
they
not going to
introduced.
change in the next 3 months.
No, no. They sort of introduced different platforms that they were using and all of that sort of thing, but nothing general, I guess, that I
Yeah,
came across. Because as you know, and we've attended conferences like this, I wanted to be in all of the rooms, but the times
you
conflicted,
can't.
so I had to make a choice.
Isn't it always the two that you want are on at the same time, and the two that you couldn't be bothered with are on at the same time? Like, flip them up a little bit.
I know,
Yeah.
but because we had Snapsite, I could have
Mm.
gone in, but it's still really not the same as being there and knowing, yeah, what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really important too, knowing what you're looking for, but also being curious enough to be open to what you didn't know that you were looking for. And I'm sure there's a few people that had
Yeah,
those
yeah,
ideas along the way as well.
yeah.
So, yeah.
That's true. And actually, that Snapsite was one of them, and that's what initiated me messaging you about having some tool in our virtual training, because I just found it so helpful,
Mm.
on every single day. And that's what I thought, well, this would be great for our students as a takeaway to help them, because we
Mm.
discuss so many things. And as you said, we normally have to write this all down, but wouldn't it be great if we had a tool? So if anyone knows of one that can go for, 8.5 hours
Eight
with
and a half hours
self-start
and,
throughout, as people go
Zoom
into
breakout
breakouts.
rooms, and
Yeah. So there's probably an
doesn't need
opening
me to
there.
think, record, stop, play, pause,
Yeah, some
all
some
of
sort of
the things.
tool, and that's what thought. Well, then they can ask it questions, during and after. It will help them with finishing their workbooks. So,
Mm.
we don't have to repeat ourselves. It's, as you know, sometimes you don't even understand what your notes are. There's a lot of information, But if you knew you had something sitting in the background, that's where, that idea came from, because I just loved it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. So you got those three topics that came away from it. You really learn about the community, you really learn about the culture and that curiosity. They were your three kind of core takeaways. What was something that really surprised you and really got you excited outside of all of those things? What was the one thing that has made you already book in your annual leave and your travel next year to attend again? What that?
Well, one thing, I'm going to submit an expression of interest to speak there next year, because that was one of the reasons I went, just
Ooh,
to do a bit
you
of
heard it first here.
recce. A lot of people submit, and that, a few people that I met that were speakers said that they've been submitting for years and finally they got accepted. So you got to start somewhere, right? So that's one thing. Um, Probably the big thing was the community. It wasn't, because I hate networking. I'm a naturally
Um,
in like intrinsic person. I'm not an extrovert. Um, so it's quite uncomfortable for me. But everyone, that I met was, amazing. We had a great time, no matter what table I was sitting at, where which stand I was standing at, or who I was asking questions of. It was that real connection, and I'm really interested in maintaining those as well. But I
no
do.
quality police.
No quality police. Look, there could have been, but I didn't meet any. Um,
That's good.
but I think the real other thing that came to mind when you threw me under the bus with this question, was that brain date that I ran on the emotional culture deck.
Mm.
Um, it was really insightful to test that, because that's a new tool that I'm going to be using to determine, the current quality culture and what the future focus quality culture is, because quality culture is becoming, more emphasized. I
Mm.
hear in the new revision, which we haven't really seen yet.
Same.
Um,
Yeah.
so I was sort of really blown away by how open people were. Again, this goes back to community, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Did that answer your question? I know I sort of babbled.
I think so. It says a lot when you're investing a lot of time, money, and literally traveling to the other side of the world to attend a conference. To do it once is one thing, but then to want to go back and be making the plans of what that looks like a year out says a lot about what the industry as a whole has coming forward. It's not just stagnating. It's excited you enough for the future that you're preparing for that future now.
Yes.
And I'm sure there was hundreds of other people doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, was someone asked when I came back, would you recommend going? I said, yeah, absolutely. Like, I suppose for us living in Australia, the flight does your head in, especially coming home, because you're not going. Well, I was going to say you're not going anywhere exciting and new, but sort of it's over and you're coming home, and it's such a long flight. But yeah, it's absolutely worth it. It's a big 4 days. It's a massive 4 days. So don't go in there lightly and think it's a junket, because it's certainly not a junket. Um, you need to embed yourself in that community. So it is. I was going to say it is work, but it's like, if you enjoy what you're doing, it's not work as such. Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
surrounded by things that make you smile, make you laugh, and or make you interested.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the key takeaway there, regardless of whether it's the ASQ conference or any other conference. You want to be able to see the future opportunities, know that these are the right people, the right place, the right
Yeah.
culture is being shared. You are learning and you are taking away, and you are still excited when you leave.
Yeah.
They're really important things, regardless whether it's quality, safety, environment, infosec, food, whatever that looks like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Make sure that you're passionate about that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, before we wrap, Jackie, was there anything else that you wanted to share from the conference?
No, that my favourite thing is my T-shirt from the conference. And my stickers. No, I think we touched on everything. Yeah, amazing people, and yeah, thank you, because really I've been back a couple of weeks, I think, just
Mm.
so it's a nice reminder to yeah, talk about it again. And funny story, I keep singing Rocky Mountain High, John Denver. I've been singing that ever since I've been home. So
I feel like I've got that in your head. You shared that on a reel, and it was in my head while you're over there for a little while as well. So
yeah,
now it's
because
back. Thank you.
because
Appreciate it.
Denver is just a stunning city to have it in. And next year it's in Orlando, Florida. So it's sort of, yeah, quite different. And maybe because we live in southeast Queensland, I think, oh, it's not another like surfers paradise, is it? Because it's, yeah, but it's not for that. I'm sure it will be stunning, but it's for, okay, what's next year going to hold? God, imagine what's going to change in this 12 months until
Yeah,
next day.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's the
And I loved it
exciting
again.
part.
Exactly. And I love that that's the exciting part. It's not about the destination, it's about the experience and the event rather than where it's
Yeah,
being held. So
yeah, absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I am going to let you recap, and then
Okay.
we're going to
Oh,
have
thank
to
you for letting me recap.
pass. You're welcome.
Okay, so there was just the three things that we discussed, and I think, yeah, Kelly and I extracted them out a lot more, yeah, than obviously we do in the newsletter, which is what we're here for. But the sort of the recap from the WCQI, so World Conference on Quality and Improvement, that ASQ, American Society for Quality, held in May. There's three sort of categories that we pulled together, and it was community, culture, and curiosity, three C's. So community, the big light bulb was that it wasn't this hard. You're not going to sell yourself for what your product is. It's got nothing to do with that. It's about connection. It's as simple as that. It starts with forming these relationships. Absolutely. I'm not denying that maybe next week, 6 months, a year, 6 years, because you stay in contact with people that you meet. And that's the same that goes here, day to day, that they don't think of Atoll, Jackie Stapleton, for anything that they need. But yeah, it was really about community, and ASQ led the way with that from day one. It was amazing. And then the second one, as I said, was culture. And of course, Kelly, you rightly pointed out that building this community of connection, it just feeds into culture. So it wasn't just this boring checklisty stuff. It was people that, we had fun. It was a great dinner we all got together at. We had photos with Star Wars characters, and we got funny stickers that sort of, made us laugh. We're quality nerds. We're owning it. Okay. So it builds that culture. And if we build the culture ourselves as quality professionals, well, that can only help the people and the businesses that we work with. And then finally, it was that curiosity. ASQ had no fear about embracing new technology. So, and they gave it a go as well. The tools that they gave us during the conference were AI or, large language model tools. And they gave it a go, and we all gave it a go as well. So I was really excited to see that they embraced all of this new tech stuff and embedded it within the conference. So yeah, I'm really keen to see what next year's looks like now that you've reminded me. So obviously the bigger picture, I put these three together, this community, curiosity, and culture, as a outcome, a way of, categorizing the key takeaways from the conference. But if you look at that community, culture, and curiosity, it all leads into your quality leadership as well. So, you can pick this up and take it to your own business, and it's community, culture, curiosity. And Kelly and I talked about that with our virtual training, and how that community and culture were built just by the energy that was brought to the room. Okay, so yes, this has been put together for the conference, but the model can actually be picked up and used for your quality leadership as well. So I'll stop talking because otherwise I'll keep going. As always, before I hand it back to you, Kelly, I'd like to close with, anyone can follow the standard. Why don't you be the one to lead the standard?
Thank you, Jackie. That is a wrap for another episode of Lead the Standard. Today, we've explored what real and the future of quality leadership looks like in practice. And it's not just those systems and the standards, it's all about that connection, curiosity, and culture. My personal highlights this week may have seen me writing some down. Jackie went 4 days without talking about ISO 9001. That one blew my mind. She also only talked about the food on one occasion, the s'mores. So that also shocked me a little bit. I'm guessing there was no cheese, so that's okay. But
Really,
the connections that you've made. Sorry, no cheese.
yeah,
You didn't have savoury stuff.
yeah, no. Look,
No. There's
food. The
feedback for
food
you to give
is
ASQ.
food is a separate discussion. The food at the conference was
Okay,
amazing.
there we go. But yeah, my highlight is that enthusiasm that you've brought back. We knew that you going over there with your people was going to be one thing, but I don't think we expected that level of enthusiasm around your experience when you came back. And there have been some real interesting insights and reflections that you've shared with us as well. So yeah, again, the key takeaway here is sending the right person to build those connections with that curiosity and in embedding themselves in that culture, as you said, does feed down the chain. So thank you, Jackie, for taking us behind the scenes of the WCQI and showing us what it is possible when a community of like-minded people come together with a purpose. Next week, we're going to continue a bit of this mid-year momentum with an episode called Stop, Start, Shift, Continue. Tongue twister there. The best questions to ask at your mid-year management review. We'll be talking about why waiting until the end of the year might actually be holding your systems back and what you can do about it. So another one you won't want to miss. Make sure you are following the show, and while you're there, please do subscribe, share this episode, and leave us a review. So until we do see you next time, take care, stay curious, and keep leading the standard. Bye for now.
Bye.